So it is evening, the sun is going down, although it's still probably an hour from setting, roughly. And have some bittersweet farm news. I'll give you the bitter first. We've had some kind of funky weather lately, and what that meant for us is I had past tense, don't get ahead of me, had a sow that she would frequently push the envelope. When we first moved to the property here, I only had these pens right here fenced off in the first, 6 months or so roughly, and that's where the pigs stayed. And then I had all this open area here that I would let them go out, and I have an old dinner bell that I ring, and what I would do is I would let them graze for about an hour and a half or so. I'm getting followed. Sorry, Toots, you can't go in here. I'm going into my American guinea hog female / barrow area. And this is actually where I lost the pig from. And a couple reasons why I want to share this. One, I want to share it because I don't want people to think that everything's all rosy and perfect all the time. And I know a lot of people online, they like to portray only the positive things, and they don't like to, share if something negative happens or bad or you name it, whatever. And so I am, full disclosure, completely open. Whatever happens, I just more so document it. And this occurred a couple days ago, 2-3 days ago. And so I gave myself a little bit of time to really assess what happened, what I could have or would have done differently. Obviously, knowing the outcome, I would have done something differently. But the setup is that, like I said, I had a sow that she would always stay out longer than anybody else would. She didn't come back when everybody else was called in. She was very food motivated, and so she was always, pushing around, trying to find the biggest, best stash of the mesquite pods. And what ended up happening was, the other day, it was overcast morning, and if you've seen some of the other videos, which I would encourage you to go back and look and watch some of our other content. If you haven't, we really appreciate that. Help the channel grow. Hopefully it would help you guys learn about what we're doing here, and maybe it would help actually translate into whatever it is that you guys are doing on your homestead, or at least be entertaining for some of you guys. So anyway, we've been having some really hot weather. We had a very unconventionally hot spring that moved into a pretty normal summer, but they basically piggybacked, and it gave us a really long stretch of over 100-degree weather, and in some cases like in the mid to high 1 teens. And so the pigs, when that happens, they usually stay around where the wallows are or where the water is. I've got, fresh water on demand. I've got drinking nipples. There's troughs, there's wallows, all kinds of stuff for them to get relief from the heat. The other morning, we had a couple days of rain, and it was a rainy morning and overcast until about noon. And so right about noon, I get a call from one of my neighbors saying that they think they saw one of my pigs about a mile away from my house. And so I left. I was in town. I left. I came back, and where she told me that she had seen her, she was moving along a fence line that I knew she wasn't going to be able to get back into, and it was going further west than my property would be. And so drove into that field, cut her off where she was trying to go, turned her around, got her back around, and she had noticeable sun exposure at that point in time. She was breathing really heavy. She had gained a lot of weight over the last couple of weeks because she'd been eating so well. And I got her about a third of the way, and she was overheating, out of breath, found a big puddle, let her rest there for about a half an hour, let her breathing regulate, get her to where she wasn't overexerted, and calm down a little bit. But I didn't want her taking too much time. For the other reason is I had my son with me in the car seat in the car, and he was needing a nap by the time we even encountered this whole situation. My wife was at work, nobody else around that could watch him or anything like that. So I had to prioritize between the pig and my son, and my son's gonna always win out. So I had him in the car with me, and he was fine for a while. Kept him pacified for a while. And what I was doing was I had my flashers on for my car. I was moving the car up, and then I would go back and I would get the pig to advance a little bit, and I was just keeping her along the road. And there's a half a mile up this way and then a quarter mile down this way west to get to my house. And had she cooperated the whole way, she would have made it just fine. And what ended up happening was she stopped, she laid down, she wouldn't, if I was budging her, trying to get her to go, she wouldn't go anywhere. And at the same time that she stopped, my son started crying. He was wet, he needed a nap, he was hungry. And so we were within like 300 yards of my house on my road. She lays down. So I come in, I park the car so that I don't have to come back and don't have to keep moving it and whatever. And I change my son, get his bottle in him, get him laying down, and I go back up to check on the pig on foot. No more than probably 10 minutes had passed since she wanted to take a break. And by the time I got out there, she had already gone an eighth of a mile back the wrong direction up to the far corner in eastern direction. So I have to hoof it a quarter mile to cut her off before she goes back to wherever she thinks she wants to go. And at this point in time, I'm pretty sure she's not going to make it, because she's already shown that she was struggling, and she backtracked and added a quarter mile to this already lengthy recovery. And so I get up there, I'm out of breath, she's out of breath, there aren't any puddles anywhere for her to get relief. There are shade trees but she's got to decide she's going to go into the shade. So I'm trying to keep her to where she's coming back towards my house, and we get just a little bit past where she had initially stopped to rest, and this time she really does collapse. I mean, she, instead of just laying down nice and easy, she just kind of flops down, flops over to her side. She's breathing really heavy. She's laying down, and at this point in time, I feel like I need to check on my son. Go back in, he's asleep, go back and check on the pig. She has backtracked again about, I mean, at this point it wasn't as far, but she's just adding more and more distance that she has to return, and I get her turned around, and I mean, she basically just gets back to the same point she was just at and collapses again. And this time she's trying to get up, and she just keeps falling over. And then that's when I pretty much knew it wasn't going to end well. When the pigs are relaxed and laying down, their legs actually will all fall to the ground pretty much. And in this case, they were all sticking straight out, which was a very stressed position. And she was still breathing heavy, but she wasn't breathing as hard, or I should say she was breathing labored, but she wasn't breathing as hard. And I knew that that wasn't a good sign. It didn't feel good. It didn't look good. And pretty much within 5 minutes of me getting back to her, she kind of just clinched up, and I don't know, medically I don't know what happened, if she had a heart attack, if she had overexposure, overheating, if she actually had a seizure, or what happened exactly. But she died right there on the road, and I tried to give her some compression on her chest in the event that it was a heart attack. If it was something that was neural, if she had, basically cooked her brain or whatever for being out so long in the heat, I knew there wasn't going to be anything I could do for that. But so I came up here, I got my truck with the trailer on it, and I hauled her back to the house. Looking back on the situation, pretty much the assessment is, when she got out way past the normal range, she was pretty much stuck out there, and she might have survived for a while. She probably would have never made it back here. It would have been a pretty long shot for her to make it back here, and she probably would have died in somebody's field when all the puddles and everything from the rain dried up within a few hours or whatever. She'd be stuck out there, no water. She'd have food, she'd have shade, probably she could find pretty easily, but water would have been the biggest thing at that point. I felt pretty confident that getting her back towards the house was what I should have done. Obviously, if I didn't have my son, it would have been a whole different ball game. I could have just walked her all the way back. Obviously, she got over there somehow, and I don't know if that's what she just kept going back for, or she was trying to find her way in her mind that she knew to get back. I don't know if she's ever been that far away, but it's probably not the first time she's ever gotten off my property and grazed around or whatever. And it's just agricultural land around here, and we have a free range law here. If you don't want animals grazing on your property, you fence them out. It's not to where you have to keep your animals fenced in to keep them controlled. But at the same time, I don't necessarily want my pigs going out and destroying somebody else's property or anything like that. So there's a little bit of responsibility on my end. and it made me assess how I'm doing stuff. And the bottom line is, she's pretty much the only pig that shows any kind of behavior that would cause me to want to change anything. And since then, I've done a roll call basically every day on my other pigs, and the other ones check in every morning. They're always here laying down in the morning, and she would frequently be absent whenever I would do roll call. I say roll call, I would just check on them, make sure, you know, the 12 that were supposed to be in there were in there. So I wouldn't really change much as far as that goes. The other thing that I was thinking of is, would I have changed how I drove her back to the house? And the only thing that I can think of is, there was one time that she cut through one of my neighbor to the east. She tried to cut into his yard, which I say yard, he's got 40 acres, and 20 of them I'm using to graze my pigs on. So it would be pretty close for her to get onto his property and then back into my property. And there was a little trail that potentially could have been the one that she took to get over there, but there's all kinds of other wildlife here. There's javelina, there's tons of rabbits, there's deer, there's all kinds of stuff that could have made a trample trail, a game trail of sorts. And so there's no way to know that that was what she was going for, or that she would even continue back to the house and not double back and try to go back to the direction that she was going, because everything that she had shown when I had moved her, she would try to go back, and so I lost ground to her almost every time I moved the vehicle, or checked on my son or whatever. So those are the things. So the bottom line is, I really wouldn't change much, and I lost a pig in the process. This just happened to be a defiant pig, and it showed when I was driving her back, and she kept, going back the way that she wanted to go, and stubborn, and it ended up costing her a life and costing me the meat, because when you lose them to heat like that, you can't plan on the meat being any good. But I've got my freezers full of meat anyway. I had nowhere to put her, and I wouldn't give that to anybody else. And so hopefully this is at least helpful to somebody. And if you guys have any comments, feel free to leave them down in the comments section. Please check out some of our other videos. It's not all about pigs dying. We've got positive things though. I actually found this is like the third broody hen. I see at least one chick that's already hatched out, and she's sitting on looks like a big clutch of them. Hit the like button if you like this video. Please click the subscribe button if you want to see more of what we've got. Click the bell notification, and leave us a comment if this has happened to you before, or if you can think of something that I should have thought about while I was going through that, considering all the parameters that were going on. Please feel free to comment on that as well. And I am more than willing to consider all options going forward and try to learn as best I can from this situation. And until next time, God bless. Checking on Pumpkin here. I just measured her. She was 45 inches long, 46 inches around at the chest, and she is 30 inches at the front shoulder there. So she is a good sized girl. Calculation wise, she'd probably be somewhere around the 250 range. I wanted to check on these American guinea hogs. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we still got 3 out and about there. It's actually possible that they're right here. I just can't see them. But they're usually not too far from here this time of night. I hear one of them out here. here's the fence line for this paddock here, and this is my property back here as well. But that all along that line right there is broken barbed wire fencing. So what they do is they come out and they've got access to that 20 acres over there, but they cut through here and get into all these mesquite trees and get all that all the legumes, the bean pods, and hey Georgie, little huntress, my little huntress. So anyway, we got 9. The other 2 will probably come in here pretty soon. They might have gotten caught out with the sun going down, so I won't sweat it. I counted all 11 of them this morning, so usually they're here every day. So move my foot. Alright, so that's going to do it for tonight, I think. I just wanted to test out my light more than anything.